The reality of the rulers, Samuel's sin, because of the reality of the authorities inspired by the Spirit of the Father of Truth, the great messenger, referring to the authorities of darkness, told us that our contest is not against flesh and blood, rather the authorities of the universe and the spirits of wickedness. I have sent you this because you inquire about the reality of the authorities. Their chief is blind because of his power and his ignorance and his arrogance. He said, with his power, I am God, there is no other but me. When he said this, he sinned against all. This speech rose up to incorruptibility. Then there was a voice that came forth from incorruptibility, saying, you are wrong, Samuel. And that is God of the blind. His thoughts became blind, and having expelled his power, that is, the blasphemy he had spoken, he pursued it down to the chaos and the abyss, his mother, at the instigation of Pistis Sophia. She established each of his offspring in conformity with its power after the pattern of the realms that are above. For by starting from the invisible world, the visible was made. As incorruptibility looked down into the region of the waters, her image appeared in the waters, and the authorities of the darkness became enamored of her. But they could not lay hold of that image which had appeared to them in the waters because of their weakness, since beings that merely have soul cannot hold of those that have spirit, for they were from below, while it was from above. The creation of Adam and Eve. This is the reason why incorruptibility looked down into the region, so that by the Father's will she might bring all into union with the light. The rulers laid plans and said, come, let us create a human that will be soil for the earth. They molded their creature as one holy of the earth. The rulers have bodies that are both female and male, and faces that are faces of beast. They took some soil from the earth and molded their man after their body and after the image of God that had appeared to them in the waters. They said, come, let us lay hold of it by means of the form that we have molded, so that it may see its male partner, and we may seize it with the form that we have molded, not understanding the partner of God because of their powerlessness. And he breathed into the face, and the man came to have a soul, and remained on the ground many days. But they could not make him rise because of their powerlessness. Like storm winds, they persisted in blowing, that they might try to capture that image which had appeared to them in the waters, that they did not know the identity of its power. Now, all these events came to pass by the will of the Father of all. Afterward, the Spirit saw the man of soul on the ground. The Spirit came forth from the Adamic land. It descended and came to dwell in him, and that became a living soul. The Spirit called his name Adam, since he was found moving upon the ground. A voice came forth from incorruptibility for the assistance of Adam. The rulers gathered together all the animals of the earth and all the birds of heaven, and brought them into Adam to see what Adam would call them, that he might give a name to each of the birds and all the beasts. The rulers took Adam and put him in the garden, that he might cultivate it and keep watch over it. They issued and commanded to him, saying, "From every tree in the garden shall you eat, but from the tree of knowledge of good and evil don't eat, nor touch it. For the day you eat from it, you will surely die." They said this to him, but they did not understand what they said. Rather, by the Father's will, they said this is such a way that he might in fact eat, and that Adam might not regard them as would a man of an exclusively material nature. The rulers took counsel with one another and said, "Come, let us cause a deep sleep to fall on Adam." And he slept. Now the deep sleep that they caused to fall on him, and he slept, is ignorance. They opened his side, which was like a living woman, and they built up his side with some flesh in place of her. And Adam came to be only with soul. The woman of spirit came to him and spoke with him, saying, "Rise, Adam." And when he saw her, he said, "It is you who have given me life. You will be called Mother of the Living, for she is my mother. She is the physician and the woman, and she has given birth." Adam and Eve in the garden. The authorities came up to their Adam when they saw his female partner speaking with him. They came very excited and enamored of her. They said to one another, "Come, let us sow our seed in her." And they pursued her, and she laughed at them for their foolishness and blindness. In their clutches she became a tree and left before them her shadowy reflection resembling herself, and they defiled it foully. And they defiled the seal of her voice, so that by the form they had molded together with their own image, they made themselves liable to condemnation. Then the female spiritual presence came in the form of the snake, the instructor, and it taught them, saying, "What did he say to you? Was it from every tree in the garden shall you eat, but from the tree of recognizing good and evil do not eat?" The woman of flesh said, "Not only did he say, 'Do not eat,' but don't even touch it, for the day you eat from it, you will surely die." The snake, the instructor, said, "It is not the case that you will surely die, for out of jealousy he said this to you. Rather, your eyes will open, and you will be like gods, recognizing evil and good." And the female instructing power was taken away from the snake, and she left it behind, merely a thing of the earth. And the woman of flesh took from the tree and ate, and she gave to her husband as well as herself, and those beings who possessed only a soul ate. And their imperfection became apparent in their lack of knowledge. They recognized that they were naked of the spiritual, and they took fig leaves and bound them around themselves. Then the chief ruler came and said, "Adam, where are you?" For he did not understand what had happened. Adam said, "I heard your voice and was afraid because I was naked and I hid." The ruler said, "Why did you hide, unless it is because you have eaten from the tree from which alone I commanded you not to eat? You have eaten." Adam said, "The woman you gave me the fruit and I ate." And the arrogant ruler cursed the woman. The woman said, "The snake led me astray and I ate." They turned to the snake and cursed its shadowy reflection. So it was powerless, and they did not comprehend that it was a form they themselves had molded. From that day the snake came to be under the curse of the authorities until the perfect human was to come. That curse fell on the snake. They turned to their Adam and took him and expelled him from the garden along with his wife, for they have no blessing, since they too are under the curse. Moreover, they threw human beings into great distraction and into a life of toil, so that their human beings might be occupied by worldly affairs and might not have the opportunity of being devoted to the Holy Spirit. Eve bears children. Now afterward she bore Cain, their son, and Cain cultivated the land. Thereupon he knew his wife. Again becoming pregnant, she bore Abel, and Abel was a herdsman of sheep. Cain brought in from the crops of his field, but Abel brought in from an offering from among his lambs. God looked upon the votive offerings of Abel, but he did not accept the votive offerings of Cain. And fleshly Cain pursued Abel his brother. God said to Cain, "Where is Abel your brother?" He answered, saying, "I am my brother's keeper." God said to Cain, "Listen, the voice of your brother's blood is crying up to me. You have sinned with your mouth. It will return to you. Anyone who kills Cain will let loose 7 vengeance, and you will exist groaning and trembling upon the earth." And Adam knew his partner Eve, and she became pregnant, and she bore Seth to Adam. And she said, "I have borne another man through God in place of Abel." Again Eve became pregnant, and she bore Noriah. And she said, "He has produced for me a virgin as an assistance for my many generations of human beings. She is the virgin whom the forces did not defile." Then humankind began to multiply and improve. The flood. The rulers took counsel with one another and said, "Come, let us cause a flood with our hands and obliterate all flesh, from man to beast." But when the ruler of the forces came to know of their decisions, he said, "Noah, make yourself an ark from wood that does not rot, and ride in it, you and your children, and the beast and the birds of heaven, from small to large, and set it upon Mount Seir." Then Orah came to him, wanting to board the ark. When he would not let her, she blew upon the ark and caused it to be consumed by fire. Again he made the ark for a second time. Noriah battles the rulers. The rulers went to meet her, intending to lead her astray. Their supreme chief said to her, "Your mother Eve came to us." But Noriah turned to them and said to them, "It is you who are the rulers of the darkness. You are accursed. You did not know my mother. Instead, it was your own female that you knew. For I am not your descendant. Rather, it is from the world above that I came." The arrogant ruler turned with all his might, and his countenance was like a blazing fire. He said to her presumptuously, "You must service us, as did your mother Eve." But Noriah turned with power and said, in a loud voice, she cried out up to the Holy One, the God of all, "Rescue me from the rulers of unrighteousness, and save me from their clutches at once." The great angel came down from heaven and said to her, "Why are you crying up to God? Why do you act so boldly toward the Holy Spirit?" Noriah said, "Who are you?" "The rulers of unrighteousness have withdrawn from her." He said, "I am Eliath, Saga's city, the great angel who stands in the presence of the Holy Spirit. I have been sent to speak with you and save you from the grasp of the lawless, and I shall teach you about your root."